So this is going to be one of the last videos because it's one of the more difficult ones. It's a nice capstone. Making scenes. So let's talk about shows for a second. So there are 3 ways to run shows. First way is by hand, which is the most common way. And most of the shows we do are going to be run by hand. Even some of the bigger shows are ran by hand. I mean, I've ran musicals with 12 body mics by hand. And that's just where you go and you pull faders up and down as people walk in and you put mutes in. Nice and simple. Then there's full automation, which is time codes. We don't do that here. We could, but we don't. It's where lighting and sound communicate and all of it's on one thing. Then we have scene automation, which is what we do here for the larger shows. Think musicals and very large plays with a lot of body mics and a lot of mic changes. So we make one set of mics like you saw. You just put them on there and name them. See, I got mics on here now. I've got Babette, Beast, Belle, Chip, Cogsworth, Lumiere, Potts, and Wardrobe. And they're all right here, and they're in this scene. Now, let me change scene so I can show this better. So, here's this scene. Now, you could have all your mics like this and run it by hand. But the problem is, they are everywhere. You don't want to have to jump around and look for them. And we had mic switches where they changed names. It's Baker right now, but it'll be Lumiere later. And I don't want to have to go and change the name, so I can automate all of this. And, look, a lot of these mics aren't in this scene. Why do I want them? I don't. So up here, I put the mics I want. I say, down here I have all the mics, that way I can grab it to facilitate this being easier. Then I have the mics I want up here. So I'm like, okay, who's in this scene? These mics. So these mics are in here, they're up top.
So you do layer A for your active scene.
Yep.
And the other mics are living on layer C and D?
No. Just C.
Just C, okay.
Yeah. Just A on this side is where I'm working. I always make my board left justified, just because of how I set. That way I can have my arm over here to hit next, and I can have my hand over here doing my mixing thing. But I have less justified the mics in this scene. Over here I have my DCAs. This one is the RF DCA. It's all the wireless mics. This one is the objects. These are the mics that are on the Enchanted Objects in Beauty and the Beast. The orchestra. If we jump down here to layer layer D on both, we have my orchestra instruments, bass, cello. Some of them are DI, some of them are microphone. But if I hit the mute on the orchestra DCA, they're all muted. And then I have the lead DCA, which is Belle and Beast. They're the leads. Over here, I have the monitor DCA. Previously to this video, we will have talked about advanced monitoring and using pre and post fader. But just know if there was ever an issue where I needed to mute everything all at one time, I could go and hit this and it'll mute the pre-fader monitors down in the pit. Or I could pull the monitor levels down. And then we had a DCA called Bad Guys, just because we had an extra DCA, and I'm like, what else can I do? I have the space there, so I made one for the Bad Guys. We also have the CD and aux over here. We ended up not doing anything off the CD, but the rehearsals were ran by the CD, so we had to have the CD player on here. The aux is where it is, because cues is ran from over there, and if I'm deep into mixing something, and I have it down and I forget, someone can reach over and grab it and pull it up. Layer B, I have my monitors. Layer C is just a continuation of all of it. I got 2 spares and all my mics all the way across. And as I said, layer D is the orchestra and the mains and subs. So in this scene, this is who's talking, right? So I have the board how I want it to look. So I take a snapshot of it. I go into scenes and I hit store and I name it. This is Town Part 1. Now, Town Music 1 is different. Different people are in it. So I go and I set the board for how I want it to look. And I change it, and then I take a snapshot of it by saving it here, and then we move on to the next scene, and I say, how do I want the board to look? And I change how I want the board to look, and we take a snapshot of it there, and hit store. And that's basically what this is faders jumping under my fingers as I need them. Going back, there are better ways to do this. I wish I would have divided some of these up better. Look how many mics are in this. I could have done that better. And that's the hard thing, because I've been doing this for a while, but it's still panicking for me to go from, let me go find Be Your Guest. it's panicking for me to go from 4 mics with 2 of them muted because only 2 of them are talking to a full thing of mics and go, oh crap, where is everyone at? Small scenes, very helpful. Now, once you get the board saved and how you want it, there's something I usually set up beforehand, you have to set, and that's the safes. That is what we want to change. And this takes a little bit of thinking. So if something is in a safe, it will not change from scene to scene. I don't want the preamp to change. I don't want the level to change. Really, the only thing I want to change is the mute and the name and color. So those are the only 2 things not saved. Because as I change scenes, you'll notice the mutes change because that's how this works. I forgot to mention that. See, everything on the top layer is unmuted, but everything on the bottom layer where everything is muted. See, the mutes just jump around. That's how this works, is you're saving the mutes. And then I don't want the name and color to be safe because characters change. As mic change happens, the names on the faders change because Maurice's mic is going to Fishman or whatever.
And that's why you leave name and color unsafe.
Correct.
So each time you create a new scene, you can rename it to whichever character is wearing that mic at that moment.
Yep. And then almost every single thing else is safe. These are the only things not safe on this one. Strip assignments, because we want those to change. We want where mics are to change. Make sure soft keys are saved. Because if they're not saved and you change scenes, you won't be able to move back without going into the settings. That's a really big one. Scenes make it a lot easier.
But soft keys, the default
Is unsafe.
is save.
The default is unsafe.
Is unsafe.
Everything-
So you have to go save
Yeah,
it.
everything is
Make it
unsafed
safe.
by default.
Okay.
So you go in and you click preamp safe and you save
Okay.
it all.
Okay.
Be very, very careful with this. Because if you end up, like I did, with accidentally unsafing a mic, it causes a lot of issues. Because now you have things that are unmuted when they should be muted and you can't figure out why. This takes a while. Going from handing me a script to getting the scenes done, if I rush, like if I spend 10 hours a day on it, I can finish it in probably 2 or 3 days. But normal pay schedule, working an hour in class, you can expect the annotation of the script to take about a week and a half, and making the scenes themselves and getting safes done and getting fader placements, which is just fader placement, about another week and a half.
Because we're in this scene thing, I would like it if we could pull up one of your spreadsheets to show everybody how you guys plotted that out.
Sure. So we're going to pause for just a second, and I'm going to switch over to the computer and show us some of our documentation.